Chairman. Mr. Tabler, during President Trump's first term and continuing in his second, the maximum pressure campaign against Iran's regime significantly weakened Tehran's regional influence and demonstrated U.S. resolve against malign actors, including Iran's proxies operating in Syria. Given President Trump's recent decision to lift broad sanctions on Syria with the hope that they may now distance themselves from Tehran and rebuild under new leadership, how do you assess that strategy? What are the benefits of that strategy, and how might lifting sanctions contribute to regional stability?
Thank you for that question. If it works, this will push Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran and its influence through proxies out of the Levant and back to Iran, so they can decide whether they are a country or a cause, to steal, I believe, Henry Kissinger's quote. And I think that's very important from a strategic standpoint. But I was thinking when Representative Mills was making his statement about our bets and so on, I found, and I've been dealing with Syria for over 25 years, I lived there for a long time, so I know a little bit about the, not necessarily diplomacy, but about the working it from the ground. Syria is a very, very difficult information environment. We're making big bets on something that is still uncertain and is currently under formation. And it harkens back to that Mark Twain quote, that it's not the things you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's the things you know for sure that just ain't so. How many of us have seen maps put in front of us during the course of the Syrian war and then subsequently after it that assure us that certain parts in the territory inside of Syria is either under one government's control or another group's control and so on? Unfortunately and tragically, we had 2 U.S. service members and then a translator killed in an environment that we thought was safe. And the people in my hometown don't want to deploy U.S. forces to those areas. They want to deploy with reliable allies. And President Ashara is an ally in the making. The administration is trying to achieve this strategic goal in a very difficult environment with more limited tools than we did in the past. Very little boots on the ground, not so much. So it is a difficult task.
I think the goal of isolating Iran as much as possible is obviously a very important objective. Ambassador Jeffries, thank you so much for your extensive expertise and your service to our country in this very complex part of the world. I will never forget visiting with an IDF senior officer in the Golan Heights. This is back in 2015, and he was showing to me a village right across the border in southern Syria that was at the time controlled by Jabhat al-Nusra, al-Qaeda in Syria. And he referenced just to the west, southern Lebanon, controlled by Hezbollah and the threat of rockets coming into Israel. And then he pointed to the northeast. He said 100 kilometers, that's ISIS. And then he pointed due east. He said, that's the Shiite militia in Iraq controlled by Iran. And then further east, Iran. Not to mention Hamas and the Houthis in the south. Very complex part of the world for Israel, very difficult geography. In the aftermath of the Assad regime's collapse, Ambassador Jeffrey, there was some optimism that Israel and Syria could explore a narrow security understanding aimed at stabilizing their shared border, right where I was standing back in 2015, and reducing the risk of escalation. In recent months, however, momentum toward that outcome appears to be stalled. What is the present state of engagement, formal or informal, between Israel and Syria, and what key political or security conditions would be required for meaningful progress toward an agreement?
Thank you, sir.
If you could.
Thank you, sir. It's been a roller coaster ride of Israeli actions back and forth, brokered by the U.S. The latest was on January 9th in Paris. The two governments, Israeli and Syrian, with a lot of U.S. urging, have agreed to set up a coordination committee to talk about security and other issues. This is preliminary to moving towards an agreement that would, we believe, acknowledge the 1974 formal ceasefire between the Assad regime and Israel. That's something both sides, I think, do want. Other issues such as the Golan Heights are going to be pushed off. But the thing that is so important is that al-Shara has been fighting Assad and the Iranians for a decade. And he is now doing his best with some success in blocking Iran to reestablish a foothold there, and in particular, as we heard earlier, provide weapons flows to Hezbollah. So it's a very important Israeli security dimension to have somebody finally to their north that is not on the side of Tehran. And for all of his problems, that is, for the moment, al-Shara. That's one reason why there has been a calming of Israeli strikes and other activities and military movements in the south. It's not resolved yet. The Druze issue is very important to Israelis because of the Druze population within inside Israel. But nonetheless, I'm more optimistic now, frankly, than I was a few months ago.
That's great to hear. Thank you, and I yield back.